and welcome to another episode of Grace and Gabriel's Close Encounters of the Third World. My name is Grace, and this is my brother Gabriel.
Or so she says. But we live in a country where brother and sister are the most common terms of address, as in, hello brother or hello sister. So when she calls me her brother, she may be telling you nothing more than that I'm someone she just happened to meet. You really know nothing about my relationship to Grace, if there is any at all.
You may rest assured, Gabriel, if you were someone I just happened to meet, I would spell that out very plainly to our viewers. It would be my pleasure.
Grace, have I ever told you the one about how Mom and Dad traded an old ski jacket for you? It's quite an interesting story, actually. Well, the ski jacket part of it anyway. It was all quilted, but it was grimy and torn and of little value to anyone, which is why they got so little in return for it.
Poor Gabriel. When he gets like this, we find it's best just to smile. Now, the city in which we live in South Asia is the fastest growing city in the world. It grows by nearly 500,000 people every year. That's the equivalent of adding a new Ottawa every year.
A new Ottawa every year? What a ghastly thought. Canada barely survives the one. Couldn't we add half of Vancouver instead?
That depends, Gabriel. East half or west half?
West half, of course.
All right, then we'll add that instead.
Sure.
Now you just return quietly to your coloring book. The huge increase in population is mainly from very poor people migrating from the countryside to the city in search of employment opportunities that don't exist. This is the 7th largest city in the world, and yet most people have barely even heard of it. It's estimated that by 2020, it will be the world's 2nd largest city.
That's a pretty spooky 2020 vision. Because what has this country done to accommodate its growth or prepare for continuing growth? Just about nothing.
That's right. The infrastructure here is completely inadequate to the city's needs. There are, for instance, electrical blackouts every day and every night.
We find that the electrical blackouts are most common in the areas that voted against the government in the last election. Grace and I feel that the government is trying to keep these people powerless in every sense of the term.
And most people don't even pretend that the stuff that comes out of the taps is technically water, let alone drinkable.
Let alone is exactly what you should do with what comes out of these taps, Grace. Which is why I've stopped taking showers.
Which is why I wish this were a longer couch.
Do you?
Boiling the stuff just seems to concentrate its properties. And as for sewage disposal...
Well, let's put it this way. Human anatomical function is never very far from our awareness.
For the most part, sewage crawls away in open trenches along the sides of streets.
We call this stuff trench warfarin.
What's picturesque is that most sidewalks, or footpaths as they're called here, are just slabs of concrete laid over these trenches.
Picturesque, possibly, Grace, although I find a sense other than vision more fully engaged. More like the sixth sense. I smell dead people.
But let's take our camera and retrench.
Or re-stench for that matter.
We're standing along from a little tea stall. Here, people stop by for little cups of very strong, very sweet tea, and maybe a piece of sweet toast or a biscuit. They stand around and gossip. Men only, of course. Women don't visit outdoors. The curious thing about this tea stall is that it's been set up right over an open sewer.
Let's take a closer look at the sewer. This isn't a storm sewer either. It carries a full-bodied, industrial-strength toxic effluence. A real rat bath. The sort that threatens to form into a new form of primitive life. A hungry, angry form of primitive life that will chase us from the streets back into our nightmares.
And this stall isn't unique. The city is full of little tea stalls just like this, set up over open sewers too. We don't think this is simply coincidence.
On the contrary, we feel we've answered two key questions.
where they get the liquid for their tea, and why their tea is so sweet and so strong. It adds all new meaning to the term bubble tea.
Gabriel?
Well, it's still better than Starbucks.